Before we begin, at Royal Roads University, it's very important that we acknowledge our traditional lands. So Royal Roads University does acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Wisepsib and Lekwungen ancestors and families, represented today as the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nations. We are so grateful to live, work, and play on this land where Indigenous and non-Indigenous staff, faculty, and students come together. So welcome, everybody. And without further ado, we'll get to what everyone's here for, which is to explore the Master of Arts and Graduate Diploma in Educational Leadership and Management. My name is Ariana, and I'm part of the recruitment team here at Royal Roads University. I am delighted to be co-hosting with Dr. Doug Hamilton, who is the program head. Hello. And then we also have some wonderful folks behind the scenes. We have Andrea, who, if you have any technical issues, you can send her a message here on Zoom. We also have our wonderful Lisa from our enrollment team here, who will be sharing some links and everything in the chat. So feel free to connect with them, and we will go ahead and go over our agenda for today. So welcome and introductions. That's what we're doing right now. And then we're just going to speak a little bit about the Royal Roads experience. We'll go into a program overview with Dr. Hamilton, and then we will go over the admission and application requirements and have some time for questions and conversations at the end. If you do have questions as we move along, you can go ahead and pop them in the chat, and then, like I said, we will go over them at the end. And we'll just go over Royal Roads a little bit here. So we are a university in Victoria, British Columbia here. So we have a couple of beautiful photos that represent our campus. We have the famous Hatley Castle on the top left, which you might have seen in such movies as Deadpool and X-Men, been featured in many films. It is a very cool place to be. We also have some wonderful natural spaces. Outside, we have a Japanese garden to the top right, which is on campus. And then we also have the Esquimalt Lagoon, which is a migratory bird sanctuary in a wonderful place to take a walk. We actually have over 500 acres of natural space that you can explore with forests and ocean and everything wonderful here. So if you ever get the chance to come to campus, which if you're taking this program, we have a residency, so you will have a chance to explore. And then we've also, on the bottom right here, got a representation of our online learning. Royal Roads University has pioneered online learning. We've been doing that for over 25 years, and we offer online and blended programs as well. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means as we move along here. And then without further ado, I will go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Doug Hamilton to speak a little bit about the program structure and go into the program in more detail.
Great, thanks, Ariana. And we're on a first name basis. We're pretty informal here, so you can call me Doug as well. It's if you're putting anything in the chat box or want to ask a question via the mic. Well, welcome everybody, and it's great to see that you've been able to take some time to join us today to learn a little bit more about the MA in Educational Leadership and Management program. So I'm just going to go over some sort of key details with regard to the program. We've left some time at the end of this webinar for you to ask questions, or you can put them in the chat window as well as we go through. And so we'll endeavor to ask or answer any of your questions either as we go through or at the end of today's session. So our program really is a program that's designed to help existing and aspiring educational leaders make a difference in their professional settings with students, staff, community members, parents, as well as make a difference, obviously, to yourself through the kinds of readings and engagements that you'll have in the program. In many ways, it's not a leadership development program. It's more of a leadership enhancement program, because we start with the assumption that everybody who comes into the program has some leadership experience, whether or not it's formal or also informal. So we try to build on that experience, and that also allows us to tailor our instruction to the kinds of contexts that you find yourself in. So a big I would say strength of our program is we really like to make the learning as relevant as possible to what you're doing within your own professional context. And you'll see that represented in the kinds of learning activities and assignments that you would be engaged in the program. We don't expect that, you know, you'll be in the program for 2 years and then you'll start applying what you learn after you graduate. Really, there's an opportunity to apply what you're learning as you're learning. And that's a really, you know, important feature of our program. So just going to show you, this is kind of like the 30,000 foot view of the program. This graphic in middle is really intended to, you know, show you sort of the connections that we make with respect to leadership between, you know, self-leadership and leading others, and the tight connections between leadership and learning in the program. What we like to call it sort of learning to lead and leading to learn. So, you know, learning to lead is really, you know, a lifelong quest for in continued self-awareness, self-improvement. We hope that we can give you, you know, tools that not only that you can use within your time in the program, but also for the rest of your life. I mean, I love it when, you know, somebody who's been out graduate for 10 years, you know, I'm in conversation with, and they'll say, I still remember this concept and it's still relevant to me even to this day. And for us, that's, you know, that's the ultimate goal, is to ensure that, you know, what you learn gives you tools and concepts and mindsets that will stay with you, hopefully, for the rest of your professional life and beyond. The other part of this is leading to learn. So in essence, as leaders, you know, one of your primary goals is to enhance the learning of other people, whether or not it's your fellow staff members, your, you know, obviously your students in your schools, community members and parents, and friends. Some people find that they can apply, you know, what they're learning to their personal lives as well. So that's a real, you know, strong facet of our program. The boxes around the center circles are the kinds of skills and knowledge areas that will be featured in the different courses within the program. You know, we focus a lot on enhancing your, you know, your self-awareness of yourself as a leader, but also, you know, being able to take that self-awareness and apply it to various, you know, skill areas like communication in schools, collaboration, work with others, supporting, you know, professional development and supervision, bringing in research to support making sound decisions, what we call evidence-based decisions, being able to lead and be engaged in change leadership processes in your school, and being able to find ways to support the use of technology in your schools as well. So that's basically a quick sort of overview in terms of our curriculum. In terms of program options, we have the MA, the Master of Arts, and then we have the Graduate Diploma. The Master of Arts is a 2-year program, 33 credits, and we actually have 2 completion options within that program. We have a what we call a course-based option that ends with a capstone project, which I'll talk a bit more about on the next slide. And then we also have a thesis option, which is available by application. And we take a very limited number of thesis students every year. And so that's a competitive application across the entire school, actually. That would, if you take the thesis option, then your second year is dedicated to developing a proposal and carrying out your thesis. We also have a great partnership with the International Baccalaureate Organization. Again, I'll speak to that a couple of slides from now. The graduate diploma, in essence, is the first year of studies within the master's program. So if you decide that you want to sort of dip your toes into the graduate program, but you don't want to necessarily commit to a full 2 years, you could actually take the first year and then graduate with your graduate diploma. or you could then choose to continue and finish your program. So the graduate diploma gives you a little bit of flexibility if, depending on your own personal circumstances and without making a full commitment basically to the master's degree. So those are two options. So in terms of the program structure as you go through it, we start with what's called the link. So where it says preparatory courses, that's one of the key courses that you'll be engaged in. And this is, in essence, an orientation course. It's a 2-week orientation course to the program, to some of your faculty, to your staff you'll be working with within the program, as well as to many of the services that will support you as you work through your entire 2-year journey within the program. We also have another course, a self-paced course that happens at the same time, which is our Introduction to Academic Integrity course that prepares you for writing your papers and doing research within your program. Ariana mentioned that we do have a residency within this program. We have one face-to-face residency, and that involves the first 2 courses of your program. It starts with a 3-week online component and then a 2-week face-to-face residency on campus here at Royal Roads. And then that's followed up by another 2 weeks afterwards. So the residency is really a key and important component of the program. It gives you an opportunity to engage face-to-face with the rest of your classmates, to work closely with your 2 instructors, and also to connect with the variety of different support services that will be helping you along the way. And spending time on campus. It's a beautiful place to be in the summer. The residencies are the last 2 weeks of July, and it's a really a great highlight of the course, of the program. People find it helps to have that engagement face to face with the people that you're going to be studying with for the next 2 years of your life. And then we move into our distance component or online courses. The great thing about the online courses is that unlike the residency where you're taking 2 courses at the same time, when you're online, you're only taking 1 course. So it's a lot more manageable for people like yourselves who are working professionals. And we've designed that intentionally to make it more manageable. So you'll take your courses through to the beginning of your second year if you're a thesis student. Excuse me. And then at the beginning of your second year, if you're a thesis student, you'll take the proposal development course and then launch into your thesis. If you're doing the course-based route, you'll continue with a few more courses, and then you'll have your capstone, what we call EDLM 610, your capstone course, which is an opportunity to develop a research-informed change leadership proposal for your own learning context or your own professional context. So it's more, well, it's definitely an applied project, but it's up to you to choose your topic. And then the instructor who's responsible for that course is there to support you in helping you determine a key question that will drive your change leadership project and investigate the literature and find a way to develop a change leadership action plan. There's also a variety of other ways of being able to demonstrate that sort of capstone set of skills and knowledge, and that way once you're into the program, you'll have more information about the details of that course of EDLM 610. So that, in a nutshell, is really the program at a glance. You can see the courses that we have listed here. The outlines for the summaries of those courses are available online if you haven't already seen them. I'm sure some of you have already been there and checked out, a few of those courses already. So the other great thing about the program is that we have approval through Teacher Qualification Service, so it does apply to if you're looking to advance a level within the TQS services. So that's a really helpful point. And then I also wanted just to touch on this great relationship that we have with the International Baccalaureate organization. We have a partnership with IBO to offer a leadership certificate in conjunction with our program. So this is a leadership certificate that is awarded by the IBO, and it's for existing IB educators and leaders. And so it wouldn't be applicable to those people who don't have IB experience. But for those that do, it's a great opportunity to gain a certificate, IB certificate, what they call it, IB educator certificate, at the same time that you are completing your studies within the MA in Educational Leadership and Management program. There's no additional work that you need to do. It's more of the focus is really orienting your studies towards IB issues and certainly either through your thesis or your capstone project that would entail more of a focus on an IB context. And all our faculty are well aware of the the learners who will be focusing on completing the requirements of the certificate. So they're there to support you as well. And then once you're finished, then you would apply to the IBO, and I think it's like a $150 registration fee, and you would obtain your certificate. So the certificate is what we call the Advanced Certificate in Leadership Research. And we're very fortunate to be only one of very few universities around the world that has this partnership. So it's a great partnership for us and for the learners who are able to take advantage of it. And at this point, I'll turn it back to Ariana.
Thank you so much, Doug. That was great. It was so nice to learn a little bit more about the program, and yeah, awesome. So we will go ahead now, folks, and just go over the how to apply section. So if you're thinking about applying to this program, which I hope most of you are, we can go over a little bit about what the admission requirements look like. So we have at Royal Roads University both standard and flexible admissions, which is something I believe that is a wonderful feature of our university. So for standard admissions, we have educational professionals with a four-year undergraduate degree in a related field from a recognized post-secondary institution, and then also some relevant work experience. And if you're going the flexible admissions, some undergraduate education work, that is a tongue twister, and significant relevant work experience may be eligible for flexible admission as well. And all applications are assessed on a case-by-case basis. So we look at the whole person and they will be assessed from there. And how to apply. So step number one is to pay an online application fee of $131.39 and then attach some supporting documents. So we require official transcripts, a personal statement. What a personal statement is basically kind of your statement of intent of why you would like to take this program. So 1 or a 2-page letter. And it's nice because it gives you some time to just reflect on really why do you want to be in this program. And so you have to attach that structured resume, which is detailed. So really including those details about your work experience, volunteer experience, and everything like that. So we can really get a good sense of who you are, and 2 letters of reference as well. Ideally, it would be 1 personal and 1 professional reference, but there can be 2 work references or 2 professional references as well. And as far as upcoming intake, so the start date that is upcoming is the 12th of June, 2023, and the application deadline for that is March 12th, 2023. So we do assess applications on a rolling basis at Royal Roads University. So you can apply now for any of the intakes. And we also have an intake for the start date of June 10th, and the application deadline for that would be March 10th, 2024. So you can apply for either. They are on the program page right now, so you can go check that out. It has some more details about each intake as well, which is nice. There are services available to you. So we do have financial aid and award services because we know going back to school, of course, is a very big decision. So they cover loans, bursaries, scholarships, student research scholarships, funding, and emergency funding. So if you're interested in any of the financial aid and awards, you can go to this link right here. So it's just admission/financial aid awards, or you can find it easily on our website. We also have our wonderful enrollment team. They are so delightful. Thank you to Lisa for being here and putting those helpful links in the chat today. You can reach enrollment services at learn.more@royalroads.ca. There's also some phone numbers here for toll-free in North America, and they really can help you narrow down your program options and answer questions about your application or connect you with students and alumni. So many wonderful reasons to talk to our enrollment team, and they're just really nice people as well. And with that, we will go ahead and wrap up the presentation portion. They also have a blog for School of Education and Technology, so feel free to check that out there. And with that, I will see if we have any questions here in the chat.
Ariana, there's a question from Miss Cynthia
Great.
that I can answer. First of
Awesome.
all, welcome, Miss Cynthia. I'm really glad that you're able to join us all the way from Saudi Arabia. Um, you've mentioned that you have a master's of arts and curriculum and teacher education. Well, that's great. And you want to, consider this particular degree. Not an issue from our perspective. No, I mean, we do have, certainly we've admitted learners before who've had another master's degree. And so from our perspective, that's not necessarily, a problem at all. From your perspective, it probably is a strength because you've already have experience, with graduate programs and studying at a graduate level. So probably your transition to this particular program, you'll find, reasonably smooth from the fact that you already have experience at the graduate level. So great question, and thanks for asking it.
And I believe we just have another question from Oliver in the chat. Is it possible to study a master's with thesis online anywhere in Canada, or absolutely not?
Oliver, our learners come from basically across the world. Most of them come from different parts of Canada. We have learners right now in our existing cohorts. We have learners all the way from New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia to the Yukon, to British Columbia, as well as some that are overseas. We have learners in China right now, as well as Vietnam and Australia. So doing your thesis remotely is not a problem at all. In fact, we want you to be able to study something that's relevant to you and it's applicable in particular to your needs, your existing sort of leadership needs. And our theses are very applied, so we want you to be thinking about a topic that's relevant to your own professional context. And in order for you to do that, obviously you have to be able to study remotely. So that's our whole systems are structured to support that. So there's no real advantage for being on campus during that period. In fact, in some ways, it's a disadvantage because you don't necessarily back in your home community studying an issue that's important to you within that community. I hope I answered your question.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Doug. I just have a question here. Hopefully we can share with everybody. Can you tell us a little bit more about who's currently taking this program as far as what their background looks like? Are they from private or public schools? Maybe just informing the folks on this webinar a little bit about that.
Sorry, sorry, I missed that. I was looking at the chat.
Yeah, no problem. Just sharing a little bit more about who is currently taking this program.
Great.
Like, what
Yeah,
are the
absolutely.
students like? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we have a mix of learners who are in public school systems as well as independent schools scattered throughout the world. Um, we some are teachers, some are school leaders. Some started in the program as teachers and now are in leadership positions. Some people are took the program because they've been tapped on the shoulder and said, by a mentor or by a supervisor and said, you have a lot of potential, having a master's degree probably will be helpful to you for your career path. Other people are in existing formal leadership positions and recognize that having, a credential that's relevant to their day-to-day work is really important to them. But it's not just about the credential. From our perspective, it's what you can do with what you're learning and how you can make the most use of that opportunity to apply what you're learning to your own work.
That's great. Thanks so much, Doug. We have a couple of questions in the chat here. Can you see, would you prefer I read them here, or would you like to read them in the chat?
So let's sure, that's fine. That's fine, Ariana. The first one is from Adi. Is it Adi? You studied accounting, graduated in 2015. Currently, you're working as a teacher assistant in UAE. You're considering taking this program. You didn't study education in university and not working as a teacher now. So we do have learners in the program who are teaching assistants or are staff members in schools. And so the program is open to people who aren't necessarily teachers or formal school leaders, or they may be the head of a staff function within a school, or like yourself, a teaching assistant. So there's no necessarily prerequisite to have an undergraduate degree in education. And in fact, I would say, apart from those learners in the program, which there are many who have undergraduate teaching degrees, there are also a number of people who didn't study education at the undergraduate level. What will be important, of course, is in your statement of interest to point out, how this goal or how this program sort of aligns with your own career goals, how you see it being a really good fit for you as well. That's a really important part of the application process. Okay, so that's Adi and Yvonne. Yvonne, you're a secondary school teacher in Cameroon for 15 years, and you have a master's degree in educational management. You're interested in doing a master's degree in educational leadership and management based. Are there scholarships for this course? We can certainly, and this I'll turn it over to perhaps Ariana and Lisa to talk more about this. There's certainly some funding opportunities. We find that people from international locations also it's very helpful to look for funding from your own sort of national granting and funding agencies as well. But maybe I'll just turn it over to Ariana and Lisa at this point to say a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Doug. Lisa, you did respond to this in the chat, so Yvonne, I hope that's helpful. There is the financial aid and award page. And yeah, she just kind of provided a little bit more details for you there. So I would just encourage you to visit the financial aid and awards page, and there's kind of a list of awards that are available of all different varieties. So I would check that out. We also have a question here from Oliver. Have a bachelor's in education from a Latin American university to study this master's because I already have a bachelor. Will you start straight with the master's, or will you ask to study some bachelor courses before going to the master's? Is that how that works?
Actually, again, it's with regard to your application, we will review your application. There's no requirement. If you already have a bachelor's in education, there's no requirement to continue to study at the bachelor's level. based on, your letters of reference or your statement of interest, obviously your transcripts, then we'll make the decision whether or not your application is aligned with the requirements of the program. But we wouldn't be asking you to take courses at the undergraduate level before you join this program if you already have a bachelor's degree.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that, Doug. We also have another question privately to myself. Somebody's asked about time commitments, so online learning components. What is the kind of the rough time commitment when it comes to the online learning components of this program?
Absolutely a great question. And as working professionals, that's a very important question to ask. And if you look at it, the design of programs at Rural Roads, I mean, our university was founded with the principle of meeting the needs of working professionals. So all our programs are really designed to be able to do that. In other words, you're able to learn and succeed with your studies while you're working at the same time. That's not to say that you won't be busy, and you will be busy. You will be very busy while you are taking the program. And so that means, giving some, doing some hard thinking before you join the program about how you can structure the next 2 years of your life to create space for the commitment you'll need to a program like this. Family support, support from friends, support from colleagues will all be very, very important, but also being able to say, I have to move some of my priorities around to ensure that I can give this program, the time and space it will require over the next 2 years. In general, we try to, a rough guide is, 8 to 10 hours a week, but it all depends on, first of all, the course and how familiar you are. Some people will take a course and it's like, I've never taken a course in this area before. I love this course and I want to do extra readings in it. But there's also, requirements in each course there's usually one team assignment in each course. So there's time there that's required to, meet with your team, look at the assignment, figure out how you're going to approach it, divide up the work. And so that's, that there's a commitment that's required there. But we do make the program as manageable as possible. We want you to be able to succeed. We're not trying to kind of, set the bar as sort of survival of the fittest. We have over a 90% completion rate, so that's important, and actually very good for graduate programs. We also recognize that sometimes life gets in the way of people who are sort of mid-career learners. And sometimes you need to take a break because something comes up, a work assignment, an illness in the family, something in your personal, professional life. And so, we have provisions for how you can do that. And also, our staff will work with you on, a completion plan, once you're able to step back into the program. So that's why, after 25 years of being an online university in many ways, working with mid-career professionals, we have the, structures and support set up to allow for that. But my best advice I can give you is, once you've, even in thinking through the application process, is think about how you're going to be able to, make the time and space for a program like this, given all your other wonderful things that you're doing in your lives.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug. That's great. I appreciate those detailed answers. Also, just going into maybe for the residency, what would a day in the residency look like when students are on campus? How would that kind of differ from the online learning?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Ariana.
Yeah.
There are 2 courses that are taught in the residency. And, so most of your days will be spent doing activities related to those courses. We often actually start every morning with some sort of community building activity that faculty will arrange for you, but also we actually invite students to also lead, because we're sharing the leadership for what we call the learning community. Um, and the learning community is basically the the community that you're engaged with, and the cohort that you'll be working with as you move through your program. So in residency, it's a great opportunity to build some really key connections with your fellow classmates, and I think you'll find by the end of residency you won't want to leave because it is a great positive opportunity to connect with your fellow classmates, as well as your instructors as well. But there may also be presentations, guest speakers. There's projects that you'll be doing in teams. But we'll also be giving you opportunities to engage in social events. We often have our school advisory um, board join us as well. So you have opportunities to meet some of the members of the advisory board. And yeah, so that's really sort of in a nutshell what our residency experience is like.
That sounds great. We do have a question from Cynthia. It is in the chat. Just going to go ahead and scroll to it. So Cynthia, you're planning on opening a school in the next 5 years. That's wonderful. I feel having a formal education in leadership and management and education will make a positive impact. So that part is for Doug. What do you think? Can you apply for a PhD in the same field? And also, yeah, I think that's the end of the question there. So can you apply for a PhD? I know Lisa's put some information on our doctoral programs in the chat, but maybe that first part of the question there, Doug, you can speak to a little bit more.
That's a great question. I mean, we have it's interesting because we have a number of people who are in IB schools that are going through the process of authorization. We have a current learner right now who's responsible for taking her school through that authorization process. In essence, kind of opening up a new school. Well, it was a new school. So there are great opportunities, I think, to apply what you're learning in the program to that process of creating and opening a new school. Some people are in the midst of transformative change in their existing schools, and they're finding what they're learning in the program really helpful to be mindful of as they go through that process. So you wouldn't be alone. I don't believe, in terms of your interests and your future goals. And the other thing I want to mention about that point about not being alone is that, yes, you have these wonderful opportunities to connect with a variety of different faculty members, all of whom have some sort of school or system leadership experience. But I think you'll also find that your learning will be definitely enhanced by the connections you make with your classmates. In some respects, the cohort of learners, provides support, pressure and support to you. In many ways, lots of different kinds of support, sharing ideas, and you'll be, sharing challenges that you have in your existing schools, etc., and probably have opportunities to get advice and feedback and share resources with other people in your class. When I mentioned pressure, but there's also that that opportunity in a cohort-based model to graduate with the people you started with. And some people have to step out for a variety of personal reasons and come back in. But for the most part, people are like, okay, I want to be able to graduate with these people I started with, because we've built this, incredible bond together. So that's why, we're strong proponents of the cohort-based model, because it really makes for, I think, a very positive learning experience for our students.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, it's nice to have that cohort go with you through the same experience, definitely. So thank you for that, Doug. Oliver, I do see that you do have a question in the chat. For that, I'm not 100% sure. The question is just about if your credentials are in Spanish, do you need to find a translator? I would probably connect, yeah, with Lisa on that one. That's great. Thank you so much for responding to that, Lisa. I don't believe there's any other. Oh, there is one other question. For me. And as far as the other webinar in Master of Tourism Management, yes, I would also connect with enrollment on that one as well. But other than that, I don't believe that there is any other questions in the chat, Doug. Yeah, I think we are good. If anybody has any last questions, feel free to pop them in there. But other than that, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. There will be a recording sent to everybody who is registered for the webinar and to all of you as well. So if you want to kind of review everything and again, connect with enrollment, learn.more at royalroads.ca, or Lisa's put her email in the chat as well. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for just tuning in and all of your wonderful questions. It's so good to get the discussion going. Doug, thank you to you as always. It's been really wonderful to co-host this with you. And do you have any final words for the folks here today?
No, there's one other question
Oh,
I noticed
yes.
that Yvonne has. Well, I mean, first of all, thanks everybody. The questions are great. This is what this session was intended to do, is to help hopefully answer your questions. And of course, you can follow up with our staff if you have further questions. Now, Yvonne I did ask, is there a PhD for educational leadership and management? So at Royal Roads, we don't have a PhD program in specifically in educational leadership. But we do have what we call a doctorate of the social sciences, which is an interdisciplinary program. But we have people who want to focus on educational leadership who do take that program. So it uses the same sort of cohort-based learning model, the same blended model, although you have more residencies within that particular program, which is really a 3-year program. But it's a professional doctorate, but it's a very well designed program, very highly respected, and certainly Lisa can give you further information about that program if that interests you as well down the road.
Absolutely. I was actually in a webinar for that program yesterday, and it was really wonderful. And I believe that will be up on YouTube as well shortly, if it's not already, for the Doctorate of Social Sciences. So it'd be good, Yvonne, if you want to check that out as well. And then one more question from Oliver. I have a question regarding thesis and project. Both of them need research. Thesis needs research and projects need research. Do they both need research?
That's a
Thanks.
great, yeah, thanks, Ariana. Oliver, great question. The capstone project doesn't involve primary research. So the thesis obviously would. It would involve, some sort of research and engage, with human subjects. With regard to the capstone project, the major project, there isn't a research component, primarily for 2 reasons. One is it's a 6 credit course, and so that's doesn't give you enough time to develop a proposal and actually take it through sort of the ethical review process we have at the university and potentially your ethical review process in your school district. So that's one reason. And then secondly, it's because it's only 6 credits, we wanted to make this project as manageable as possible, the workload. So it really involves coming up with a topic of interest to you and potentially your school, and then developing a sort of a researchable question, examining the literature, and then if you choose to focus on sort of the change management, developing a plan that's been informed by the research that you've read and summarized for change within your school. Or it could involve the development of some sort of product, like a professional development workshop or something like that. So there is some flexibility in terms of what the sort of products are or deliverables within the course, but it's a research-informed project. it's not, doesn't directly involve going out and gathering data from individuals in your school community.
Excellent. Yeah, I believe that that is a great response, but I believe that wraps us up for today. If nobody has any other questions, thank you so much for wrapping us up there, Doug. And yeah, if nobody has anything else, I will wish everybody a good day. And yeah, feel free to connect with learn.more at Royal Roads. If you need any information or if you want to speak to somebody in enrollment, talk about an upcoming intake or talk about any of the programs really. But yeah, I will leave it at that for today, folks. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here and have a wonderful day. Take
Thanks
care.
again. Take care, everyone.